Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Rivalz Race Chat again with Clinton and Adam. This is Race Chat 104. And welcome, everybody, to the program as we wind down what is almost the official end of racing season in Ontario, Adam.
It's got to be just about over, doesn't it?
Yeah, you'd think so. Does it feel like it went on forever, even though it started a month and a half late?
It seemed like the ending went on for a long time, I think. Are you mad at me? I came in, you didn't even say hi or anything.
No, why would I be mad at you? You've left me alone for like 4 days. It's been beautiful.
I figured you can only do so much for a person, and that is the gift for me that keeps on giving.
Well, wait a minute now. If we're going to start like that, every week you come on, you don't ever say hi to anybody. You listen to your country music, you take phone calls rudely right up till the very last second, and then you bust my balls today for not being polite and saying hello.
No, I didn't bust any balls. I asked if you were mad. Busting balls would be, hey, you didn't say anything to me when I came in. What's up with that? Dick
That's how
move.
I heard it, no matter how you said it.
Right?
Um,
That's wild. How was your
but
weekend down in Brockville?
pretty good. We'll get to that. There was some good stuff that went on down there. We got a lot of other stuff to get to in the meantime. We are going to talk about, there's part of the Action Sprint Tour and just a crazy thing, crazy weather they had to deal with down there. But Frosttoberfest Take Two is at the top of the charts, Adam. You were there on the microphone, I believe, in some capacity. Tell us about how things went down there. Rained out from the previous week. Of course, Mike Schmidt, Caselli, and everybody down there always do a fantastic job. It was the Grisdale Triple Crown race. What can you bring us back from Flamborough?
You know what? Good car counts. I mean, super stocks. I think were around 17 or so not a jammed field, but they had 25 pro late models. It was really good racing all the way around. Uh, I won't lie. I'm not in love with super late model racing anymore in Canada. There's they just don't do it for me, and I've got great respect for the racers that do it, and I've got great respect for the talent that it takes to do it well. I just don't get off on it. I love watching super stock racing. The pro late models put on a hell of a show, had a full field. The pure stocks were entertaining as hell. 40 some out of them showed up.
So let me ask you, what is it about the super lates? Now, obviously, car counts have been on the dwindle. From a promoter side, they, even before COVID, were having to pay their own supper kind of deal. They have to find their own sponsors because they were just too costly for these guys to get out there. And I don't want any of my buddies like Big John Cabin to get too pissed at me because he's not a guy I want mad at me.
No,
But let's just talk about. I mean, what's the situation? I'm sure you're not alone in those sentiments. So what was the feeling behind it? I didn't go to the race, so I didn't get to see it.
with a full field of cars, I would enjoy it. Even closer to a full field of cars, and that probably wasn't a bad field for them. I think there was 15 super lates. There's such a huge difference between the faster cars and the slower cars. Uh, I just think that division's kind of lost in the shuffle right now. They're they were on the right track. They were on the right track, and then a few years ago, something happened to split up the super late models in Ontario. And I'm happy for Dave Gainforth that it wasn't the end of Oscar because he's come back really strong with modifieds and hot rods, and I think the super late model program still is something that needs some life breathed into it. And you're right on the money when you talk about someone like John Cadman, the passers, really involved with it. So I think there's hope with people like that. They just need a little more.
That was going to be my question. It's funny you brought Dave Gainforth. I was going to ask, do you think they're wishing they had Gainforth back and it was still run by Oscar? And I would have to say from the outside, as a guy who's not invested in it, just watching it from the cheap seats, I think the answer would be yeah. They wish they probably didn't make that split. And I think it had something to do with Sunset running them weekly, and that just split them up. And then Dave kind of just let it go. And
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
know
know.
who race directs. I don't know who is the race director for their race because from what I gather, they don't run one-way radios, or if they do, it's not communicated from the tower. So it's very strange to watch a series that scored from the tower but not officiated from the tower, if there is an official somewhere. It's kind of officiated from up there, but there's no communication with the drivers. They're just little things. And I'll tell you where else I noticed this with, and it really never mind.
Ooh, it's rare Adam
No
Ross
point.
puts his foot in his mouth, but he realized he didn't want to go down this road. And I could probably pry him down it, but I won't bully you into it.
No, I will. I will. Is the ISMA Super Modifieds, who were the originators of the one-way radio communication. They've been doing it for more than 20 years. I found, were you at the shows at Jukasa when they would come up? And it's like, man, this club is still really run in an old school way. Like, get with the times, get with the just left behind.
These are the times when, especially with COVID involved, in all aspects of life and business, the herd is being thinned. If you're not strong, robust, and able to pivot, you're going to be left in the dust, so to speak. Gary Collins says no receivers, but they direct it. So that means directed from the tower, but there was no communication with the drivers from the tower. Does that make sense, Seattle?
And yes, yeah. And I'll tell you this. I don't enjoy being a one-man show. I've been so spoiled by working with you, Clinton, and Dave Bradley, and Greg Callan, and all the announcers we've traveled around and met and worked with, that being a one-person show, it wears me down. Like, I can't banter with myself. I can a little bit, but
I'm 1,000% on board with that. If you ask me to do a show and I have to go do it solo, it's going to cost you more than if you have a partner, and I don't care who it is. You're absolutely right. Just having that someone to bounce off of, and you kind of play off what they say and take it to the next level. And that's why I think the relationships we have, guys like Dave, Greg, us, it just works well. I mean, Stephen Petty's here. Him and I flowed very good together. Dave Buchanan, a lot of those guys, when you start to gel it together and you can just kind of uplift each other. And then when you get to the jokes and the puns and you're one-upping each other with the puns, then you really got it together, right?
I've got big respect for someone like Brendan Doherty, for being able to carry a show on his own and keep it flowing.
One of the other guys we worked with, I'll give a shout to, is Jonathan Howe. We saw him do a good, he's been carrying that show at Maryville for a couple seasons with guests here and there, but for the most part, it's been John running the deal. Gary holds it down at Flamborough too, man. Not an easy way to do. I'm not a fan of that. That and race directing.
Gary was race directing on Sunday night, and I swear to you, when Doug Leonard showed up just in time to do the late models, for one thing, Gary was screaming hallelujah, but he was all but in the fetal position in the corner of the tower. He was done.
It is not an easy job. Let's talk about some positives. What was a positive about Frosttoberfest? Obviously, the support from the regulars, Schmidt, Grisdale, Bennett. I'm sure I'm leaving folks out there. But those are the ones that come to the top of my mind because they do such a good job of promoting them.
Big.
And super stocks on the card. What about the other classes? What were your takeaways from that?
Loved the super stocks. It was a really entertaining race. There was some drama. There was some drivers that had to be reined in. The Pro Late Model race was again a really good race. It was fun racing to watch. Pro Late Models, it was exciting to see some new drivers, some new race cars out there. So just awesome. It was a good show. Pits were full. That rain delays kill me.
Yeah, that was a big part of what went on at Brockville this weekend. When we get down to our fall nationals discussion, we'll talk about that a little bit. Let's move on to the port. Anything else we want to wrap up from Flamborough? They have another event still coming. We'll talk about that later on. It is in the rundown. We'll talk about Enduros and demos coming up, and they're on the list there. So we will give you some props to that when we get back to that.
Yeah.
The racing at Flamborough.
Racing, to me, the racing gets in solid A. B plus, A. Good racing. Hats off to Mike Schmidt, London Recreational Racing, Grisdale Racing Products, John Casale, Gary Calling, everyone it took to get that show together. And there certainly wasn't a big crowd for it. But I will say this, there were diehard people in the stands, and they were invested in the racing that was going on. And I think things are definitely swinging in the right direction. So let's move on from that. What do you got next?
Port Royal Speed Showcase. But before we get there, Adam, want to send a shout out. We always talk to our YouTube viewers. I've had a few people come on. Debbie, who we were camping with this weekend, said to me, I watch you every week. And I said, I don't see it. She said, I commented. And I said, do you comment on YouTube or Facebook? She said, Facebook. So I follow the YouTube chat here. So anybody commenting on Facebook, I apologize. You got to get signed in on YouTube with your Google chat, and we'll see it. Spencer's monitoring it, and I think you keep on top of them both, Adam. But I personally have to send a shout out to everybody watching on Facebook.
I used to. Facebook is like the little brother you didn't want to have to bring to the mall with you, but you do anyhow. Not the people watching, Facebook itself, because it was really slowing down our systems. Like, we noticed a noticeable difference trying to have it running and our connection speed. And there were some other issues with Facebook that we don't have with YouTube. But we didn't want to get rid of Facebook because there's still a lot of people that know the show through that. So we want people to be able to find it however they can. It's just like an unmonitored. So it's kind of like bringing your little brother to the mall. At the same time, it's kind of like leaving your brother home alone without supervision. We don't know what goes on over there.
Good point. Welcome, everybody. Whatever channel you're catching us on, whether it be YouTube or Facebook, we appreciate you hanging out with us on Tuesdays. Port Royal Speed Showcase, Adam, was up this weekend. Brett Dale and the Short Track Super Series group, they put on a bit of a situation down there at Port Royal. And, man, after this track we come out of at Oswego, it looked like a pool table. It was butter smooth as desktop, and I'm sure it had a few ripples in it. But after comparing it to Oswego, what a difference.
Really good racing. Hats off to Brett Dale for even taking the pro stocks down there. So you knew you weren't going to get a ton of cars, but he took them down there for a special event. I don't even know how far that was for most of them to tow from the Fonda area, the Capital District in New York State. But I enjoyed the show. I would like to unravel the prize money that Brett Dale pays out a little bit.
How so?
He puts on some great paying races. $50,000 to win at Port Royal. And I don't know how big the crowd is at like, even if the weather was perfect, I don't know how many people they'd have in the grandstands to watch a modified show down there. That's a big money race.
Well, as a promoter, even with me doing what we do up here, I mean, you can't put all of your eggs in the fan basket, meaning you got to pull in a lot of sponsorship dollars to cover 75% of your nut. And then the other 25 would come from the fans to make sure the fans would pretty much be your gravy, I would think, the way you're playing out. But here's Port Royal. What a great spot this is. We have to get down there. The owners actually come to our Canadian Sprint Car Nationals a few years in a row there and invited us down. So we're going to have to take them up on it. House is off the back straightaway. What a great showing. I mean, Dale's got something here, Adam. My thoughts are, after Oswego, how many sportsman teams like a Brad Rouse per se or someone like that are going to make the swap and say, hey, I'm not going to Oswego. I'm saving my stuff for Port Royal. We've seen 2 years of this now at Port Royal where it was right after Dirt Week, an amazing show. I think they got something.
They do for sure, but Super Dirt Week is still Super Dirt Week. And I think there's no reason to believe you can't have over 100 dirt sportsmen at Oswego for Super Dirt Week and 100 sportsmen go down to Port Royal. And there'll probably be 10 or 12 crossovers, people that do both. But you'll have 90 at Oswego that won't be at Port Royal. You'll have 90 at Port Royal that weren't at Oswego. So I don't even think it's a this or that scenario. It's just two different pools to draw from. But you got drivers who used to be pretty dedicated to just running the dirt car series, starting to follow both because it's legit. It's good racing. It pays well. The shows are well run. It's fairly undeniable, I think.
Yeah, look at how slick and smooth that track is. Man, it looked racy. What can you say? Looked really good. Stuart Friesen goes on to pick up the $50,000 Short Track Speed Showcase 200 and all the money, and a great deal there. This is one thing that DTD did very well, Adam, with their split screen. We're we're up their butts all the time. Not necessarily these guys, but we were on Flow Hard last week. I thought the DTD guys did a great job of following the action. They followed the call of the race very well, and when they were talking about something, the camera was focused on it for a lot of it. And then that's what I saw, but I saw a lot of comments, people bitching on the other side of it too. So I have to find out what they weren't happy about. But I thought things were well done. The DTD crew did a great job providing that to Flow this weekend. So I thought things were good down there. I want to get into anthems and prayers again. We talked about this last week, Adam. You are a big stickler of, if you're going to do this, you have to do it right, with the right amount of respect and prestige that these types of pre-race things deserve. And for a couple weeks in a row now, and maybe I shouldn't throw stones, but I wasn't an anthem singer. I've sung anthems at a lot of the big races here in Canada. So I will throw stones. When are we going to get somebody who can sing the damn Canadian anthem properly, for one? 2 weeks in a row, you and I sat and cringed through the anthems both times and went, did they even listen to these people? Like, did they grab the guy from the parking lot and say, yo, bro, can you sing? Good, you're our guy. Like, it was just, they didn't seem vetted properly to me. And I'll even put it out there. I'll go sing the damn anthem next year, and it'll be a lot better than it was. But man, it just pissed me off. If you're gonna half-ass the anthem, let's just go race.
I got nothing to add. No,
right,
I agree. I agree. That's what I mean. Like, what do you add to that? You're absolutely right.
There are a ton of beautiful singers out there, men and women, who can get this done.
Now you're going to make me jump in. The anthem does not need to be sung. Play it. Perform it. There's marching bands. There's
I love that
soloists, instrumentalists. There's so many things that you could do. Just
no, Spencer,
freaking
that's
do
the wrong
it.
image.
we should.
That's
talk.
for another. I got that on the rundown. We're gonna get to that tonight for sure.
Good,
Spencer,
good.
just I throw random.
Oh, before I forget, another topic we are going to add to the show here in the next couple of weeks is marketing letters. I'm going to give we're going to talk real quick about what sort of things you can put in a letter if you want to attract. The old term for that is sponsors. I don't like the term sponsorship because it implies it's a handout. You're offering a marketing opportunity, but I want to put that as a topic in the next few weeks.
It seems like we got some folks agreeing with us. It can be anyways. Fran, I don't know if you remember the night the girls played it on the violin at Humberstone, and she was really good. There's so many other ways you can get that out there, Adam. I fully agree with that. But let's show it the respect. Let's do something with pride. Something that your anthem should wow us, not just be a 3-minute, let's get to the racing as fast as we can. We should enjoy the anthem. Like you said, it should be a performance. I don't care if you got crocodiles to bark it, but give us something that we can be proud of and be happy with and like, okay? So the other thing that I'm going to come down on the Short Track Super Series for, and I don't know whether this comes down to I'm not even going to pretend to know who did this. So before the 200, they have a little guy, and I called him Little Johnny in the notes. Little Johnny is up there, and he's ready to say, driver, start your engines. So they go to him. Hey, here we go. Give it to us. And it's the cutest call you could ever hear of a young kid saying, gentlemen, start your engines. It was awesome. But we didn't get to see the kid. They didn't tell us who it was, why he was up there. It was just nothing. We just heard this call.
Oh, was that?
And I'm like,
was that the night they called the kid up out of the grandstands? You heard the announcer saying, hey, you with the phone in your hand, come up here.
It might have been. I mean, we were drinking beer in the parking lot at Brockville watching on a big screen. So I didn't see every minute of the whole broadcast. But it's just, I'm like, you have a chance to do something cool and make a cool little mini story there, and you just totally missed the boat with the cameras and everything. And I'm like, who was that kid? You could just tell the kid had a great look on his face, was super excited to be there, and we should have seen it. That's the end of that rant.
I'm going to share a bit of a story to explain this rant and a number of rants that we go on. So I'm not going to apologize, folks, but you have to understand I miss the days of being a racing fan. You could just go and take in a show. I can't do it anymore. I watch a lot of streams. I can't just sit there and be a race fan anymore because we've spent so much time picking these things apart and trying to build a better program and build a better show. Just like people like Mike Schmidt or Gary Calling or Fran or Steve Petty, so many of these people, you can't help it. We pick these things apart. You think, oh, how can they do that? Man, why do they do that? So I know it sounds like we're bitching a lot, which maybe we are, but our heart's in the right place. We want better.
Look, when people
That's
come
why
to the
that's why we
races,
do it though.
you're right. We bitch because we care, and it can be better. These are small details, Adam, that every promoter should be looking at. And I'm sure I've let it drop through the cracks. Like I said, I live in a
Oh,
glass
we've
house
had
too,
bad.
so feel
Yeah,
free to throw
we
your stones at me too. So that's all I got to say about that. Until next week, when it disgusts me one more time. Um, was not raced at Oswego 2021, Adam. This was something, I'm not sure if it was you who said that this was going to be something we would see, but here we see it. Show the ad from Brad Rouse, Spencer. He's got a car for sale, and one of the lines in it specifically says, so it says 2017, other Bicknell, other body style driven. Okay, 2070 Bicknell, complete race ready, Donnath Motorworks, Prep 602, coilover car, top-notch equipment. Been to victory lane many times. Asterisk, did not race Oswego with it this year. 22,000 US, 29 Canadian. So I just thought, Adam, we're going to see that more and more because the track was so rough at Oswego that people aren't going to want to buy stuff. And Brad would have been somebody who's normally at Oswego, so he's letting anybody who know that, hey, I didn't take that car. And I think that's going to be sort of a new sales line we're going to see in a lot of these ads in the offseason for modified type cars.
Well, in the day, a Super Dirt Week car, a Syracuse car, was not used anywhere else. So your Syracuse car was a Syracuse car. That's what it was built for. It stayed covered up until it was time to go. Now with Super Dirt Week at Oswego, these are just regular race cars, right? That people put in and out of their rotation. Sure, they'll probably have some special prep to their Super Dirt Week car, but if you go get a car from Merrittville Speedway, there's a good chance it was run at Merrittville or through a farmer's field that had just been plowed.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out on the screen right now. See GeForce TV apparel. If you want any of the stuff we've got here, produced by our great buddies at Image Factor. This is the new hoodie that's come out. Tune in and buckle up. GeForce hoodie. I've got the new hat on here. We've got a couple other styles of hats. You can also get all the Dirt Nation stuff there while you're there. Support Greg's brand too. So go to imagefactor.shop for all the latest GeForce TV apparel. And we want to thank everybody. I saw a ton of it, Adam, everywhere we went at the end of the season. Even Crew Chiefs wearing our stuff, and it's just fantastic. We appreciate the support. No better gift than some GeForce apparel for Christmas for the racer in your life. Go to imagefactor.shop to pick that up. What is it? Spencer, show us the pictures and let's see if Adam can guess what it is.
What it is? Oh, my Lord.
That's what I said. This was a graphic shop showing this car. So to show them all, Spencer, it's Gary Morash's 124, Adam. No, I'm just kidding. From back in the day, it's letter 124. Look, okay, hold that picture, Spencer. So look at that.
Okay, it's from overseas. It's from overseas.
Yep. What
that makes sense. The phone number on the quarter panel. Because that's what I was going to say. They run very, what I think is very bizarre classes over in the UK and in Australia.
Okay, you're close.
Some of them are.
So can we see that picture again, Spencer? I just want to point out a couple items off that last picture. Yeah, so maybe for the pavement folks on the show, to me it looks like a sprint car chassis because the wheelbase is short like a sprint car. It's got a sprint car rear tire and top wing on it, but it's got virtually a modified body on it. I just thought it was super cool looking. It's like almost like if you took a modified sprint car, put them together, and drew a cartoon of it. I mean, they look like they'd be badass to see. Spencer, whip through the pictures one more time for us. I thought it was cool looking. So it's basically a sprint car front end, no nose wing like you'd see scooping down in front on a modified with a crash bar out front. I just thought it was pretty darn cool. All it needs is Gary Morash's name on the side, doesn't it? And you're right. New Zealand. And I had to dig it up to
Okay.
find out where it's from. This was a graphics company showing off the new wrap on it. It's not too often you and I see dirt race cars that we go, what the hell is it and where is it from? And it wasn't until I started to see pictures of, the UK cars with all the bars around them.
All bumper all the way.
All
That's what
bars.
I was. Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a
So
New Zealand.
this is like that, only open wheel.
Up an Aussie modified. Pretty wild. I thought that was cool. Moving on. Rayom wins at Southern Ontario Motor Speedway. This is a big story out in the Rayom family. Big supporters here of the late model stuff in Ontario. And Andrew Rayom goes on to win a big emotional race in memory of his father. That's a pretty cool story.
That's really cool. Really cool. And I don't know if we gave hats off last week. We needed to, on how great the track surface looked at Southern Ontario Motor Speedway for their big year-end race there on Thanksgiving weekend. Because it was a concern. It's most of the reason why the sprint car guys and gals pretty much unanimously said they didn't feel comfortable going down. Hats off to the track staff there for getting things back together and putting together a fantastic surface.
Yeah, I heard things were fantastic too. And that's what we want. I mean, nobody wants to be breaking up with them. We want the best for them. I mean, when we went there August 7th, I think everybody had an awakening about Southern Ontario Motor Speedway and what its future could hold when there were that many people there, that excited for sprint cars. They stayed late. They were packed 10 deep at the fence. And I remember Ryan, our mobile camera guy, him and I looked around and he pointed to the fence and he goes, all those people paid at least $20 to get in? And I said, yeah. And he went, wow. And I said, yeah, but from there to there, all those people paid $45 to get in. And his jaw just went, oh my goodness.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a good time to show the Burger Barn video of the week. That's a good segue. Yeah. If it's the video,
sure,
I think
we'll jump
it
into
is.
That. Yes,
right?
It is.
Because, and they had to do it at Southern Ontario Motor Speedway. You know, there's limited seating. But picture this, if there was people lining the fence.
This is why Fran always tells him, get away from the fence. Now that's the secondary view. Play that again, Spencer.
Well, they'll
slow it down, and then we'll show the other view. Can you slow it down?
Yeah, right on.
Oh, that was like 2 fence posts from going right into the grandstands. Now show it from the other view where all the people are standing. Reports where everybody was okay, so that's a good sign. So we have a third view then from outside the track?
I don't think I ever saw a view from outside the track.
I thought that was the first one I sent. That's it, Spencer? Okay. There's a third one out there because the first view I saw is they were outside. It was from the people outside ducking. So there is a third one out there somewhere.
No kidding.
It was from the grandstand where I saw it first. Thank you. Good. Flying Squirrel number 23, New Zealand Super Saloon Series. I think. Anyways, cool. Yes, so that's why we tell you don't stand at the fence. Always pay attention and get your kids away from the fence. Oh my goodness, it's so scary sometimes. Cool with that. Brian's Racing Auction. Adam, we're proud to announce it's going to be January 15th to the 22nd. It's going to be in 2022. It's going to be the Brian's Racing Auction. Brian's Auctions, the Brian's Racing Auction powered by GeForce TV. Throw up the logo, Spencer. You're going to see a lot more of this. Adam, this is exciting for us. We're going to be live in what we believe is the Trenton location and then the Pussons location on the 22nd, the following Saturday. We're going to be bringing racers together, all kinds of parts, complete cars, and everything else you could do. No junk could be sold on this auction. It'll be an online auction where you can go in and buy everything from complete race cars to new old stock parts and everything in between. Anything race related is going to be a part of that. We're going to be putting together packages from everything from driver suits to anything you could use for your race car. And the ideas keep coming in as to what we're going to sell in that. Super excited to be partnering with Brian's Auction Services, and you see their ad on the bottom there of our screen right now, Adam. This has been an exciting new project that we're taking on.
Super exciting. And now that most of our racing is done for the year, Clinton, we can really put some focus on it and reach out to some people and make sure there's some good inventory. And the folks at Brian's, between Ken Lillicrop, Joel Lillicrop, it's going to be a well-run operation. We know that much.
Yeah. So if you are a Brian's customer already, should be very easy for you to participate and bid. If you're not a Brian's customer already, we suggest you go to the website, check it out, browse around. They always have auctions going on both here in Trenton. I bought some stuff through it. It's been amazing, super easy to deal with. The auctions are fairly run and right up till the end. So it's been great to work with Joel and Ken on this project. It's going to be January 15th to the 22nd. You'll start to see parts come online in the next month or so, and we'll start previewing what you're going to be able to bid on. So you're going to be able to get fantastic race prices at racing parts at amazing prices, auction style, to get you ready for the 2022 season. All forms of racing will be included in it as well, so make sure you check that out. It's the Brian's Racing Auction, powered by GeForce TV. While we're on the subject, I got to thank Mark from Jibs and all they do for us. Jibs Action Sports, as they're on the screen right now. Mark's been a great supporter of everything we got going on. And if you're looking for a great gift for the kid in your life, need to get them off the video games, log on to jibsactionsports.com. Check it out. No junk there, all top of the line action sports stuff. Scooters are still the number one thing the kids want, but they also got BMX and skateboards there too. Make sure you check it out. Let's jump into the action. Go ahead.
Speaking of Jibs, I got to give a tip of the hat to Mike Miller. He had a good run at Flamborough Speedway. I think he finished 6th. If he didn't, that's where he was running, battling for a top 5 with a couple other cars. He's really upped his performance. I was happy for him. Jibs as a sponsor on the number 73.
I'm a big fan of Mike Miller. He does a lot of tech for us here on the dirt. He's also the tour tech director for the Action Sprint Tour Nights of Thunder. So way to go, Mikey. Or Michael, as I call him. He probably hates that, but I address him as Michael. What's up, Michael? I know it pisses my brother off. It's got to piss him off. Action Sprint Tour Championship at Brockville, Ontario Speedway this weekend as part of the Fall Nationals. Have the crates down there, Adam. It was exciting to see them build in the East. When you go down there and you see the names like Rick Wilson, Ryan Poole, Matt Billings, Lee Lattisaur jumping into the crates, those are no slouches. And the credibility of, the whole division down the East just goes up a lot. So we had talks with our teams, told them it was important for them to come down and support this if they can, to show the teams in the East that this is a serious division with car counts and great events. And it was amazing to see. But, what are your thoughts on just some of those stars from the East jumping into these crate sprints in the early infancy of it in that neck of the woods?
Well, you said it, Clint. It adds credibility. You get someone like Rick Wilson, Matt Billings, Lee Lattisaur. Those are Billings, Lattisaur, and Wilson are prominent names in Eastern Ontario racing. So for them to be behind the wheel of these cars, I think there's great things coming for the crate sprint division.
Yeah, no doubt. It won't be long before we're having a bit of an East-West and a national point tour. Could be even as soon as next year, depending on how it shakes out. What we have learned that has worked very well for us this year is when we put the Action Sprinter on the Knights of Thunder on the same card and put it on G-Force. That seems to get the best visibility, the best car counts. So look for a bunch of those. The other thing we saw were doubleheader nights. You had the Brockville doubleheader. You had the nights where we had both classes on, though. We had Brighton, we had Humberstone, we had a few of them. Schweik can obviously be back on that program. And I think you're going to see some great things come down the pipe for these guys as we try and work it out together. Adam, the other thing that got talked about a lot this weekend was just the border situation. Cornwall had a big event there on Super Dirt Week weekend. They're not going to turn that bus around. They're going to continue to do that every year. Raymond saw they had great car counts. And I think, you're kind of seeing a divide at the border now. Even us with sprint cars, we kind of have to take care of our own guys here in Canada first, because we can't really make those plans for the border to be open yet. And, in my talks, and maybe you can tell me I'm wrong, when the border does get open, how many teams are going to jump through the required hoops to go? So they say, oh, the border's opening in 3 weeks, but is it really? How long is it going to be before we're back to pre-COVID time where guys could just jump in the car and decide to go to Ransomville from our neck of the woods? I don't think we're going to be there for at least a couple seasons.
I don't know, Clint, and it's not, and part of why I don't know is that I don't care too much, because we've got such a good product here. I'm all about road trips. I'm also half American, so crossing the border and being in the U.S. is a big deal for me. This is the longest I've ever gone without being in the U.S. But having said that, you worked so hard. So many promoters worked so hard to build phenomenal events that were focused on Canada only. And there's a lot of our viewers saying, who cares? This doesn't apply to us. Like, we go to Delaware, we go to Flamborough, we go to Jukasa. Well, almost any of those places, except for Flamborough probably, do get some Americans come over to compete for some of their big events. But the dirt tracks, they all do. Every dirt track relies, when they run their big events, historically, they need Americans to come over and not only sit in the grandstands, but compete. And now we've got people really focused and working hard on saying, well, you know what, whether or not the border's open, we're still going to put on big shows. No purses got cut this year. They're still investing the money. They're still putting on the great programs. And lo and behold, people are supporting it. And I dare say, if Matt Shepard's not going to cross the border, and a whole bunch of other talent from New York, that's probably part of the reason why the car count was so much stronger, because people will come from further distances in Quebec or from this end of Ontario because they know they have a better chance to qualify.
I think you're right. If you take one top dog off, you probably get 5, other guys coming out who may not be able to make it work. My first visit to Brockville was this weekend, Adam. I thought the layout was awesome. We had a great time. So the night went, the crate sprints were last on the card. They got the whole program in except the crate sprint feature. We knew at that point that it was going to pour all day hard into the night Friday, early Saturday morning, and all day Saturday. So they basically just wrote that one off and said, we're going to get going early Sunday morning. Had hot laps in the crate sprint feature, got underway. Then that was the one leftover race from Friday. Then they went into a full set of heats for day 2 of the Brockville Fall Nationals Sunday. And then basically it started to rain so bad that they just had to pull the plug after 4 hours or so of trying. This is some action from Brockville on Friday night 1. This would be their mini stock class. And I thought the layout of Brockville was great. There's not a bad seat in the house in the grandstands. Modifieds and sportsman car counts were well attended. Have you been there, Adam? I loved it.
Yeah, well, remember, my mom and dad moved down to Lyndhurst, about 15 minutes from that racetrack, just after Angie and I met, so a little over 20 years ago. So yeah, I went to Brockville quite a few times. Are the grandstands as big as I remember them? I seem to recall there was a lot of seating capacity at Brockville.
Big, steep, and massive. I was super impressed by it. Here's the crate sprint heats. The feature obviously didn't go till Sunday. Not sure if we're going to get to see that, but, we'll talk a bit about that. So the crate sprints put on a great show. 23 cars showed up. I cannot thank the Action Sprint Tour teams enough for making that long haul down there. And they were stuck basically for a dead day, Saturday, just hanging out. And they all got together at the hotel and hung out in one of the conference rooms. Spencer, do we have any footage from Sunday's sprint car finale? So the Action Sprint Tour championship race, it turned out to be, because when the rest of the day on Sunday rained out after basically 4 hours of drizzle and trying, they said, keep your rain checks. It'll be next spring, will be day 2. If you still have your wristband, you get it for free. But we made the executive decision that the Action Sprint Tour was effectively over on the day. We were not going to carry it into the spring. Dykstra had such a big lead. It was pretty much a wrap-up after the last race. Anyways, there was some drama. Jacob went through tech. For some reason, the car wouldn't fire when he came up for his qualifying heat for the second round of heats. And that would have put him tail in that race if it didn't get rained out. He was going to start dead last in championship race. He Alan Downey basically would have won, and Jacob would have had to finish pretty much last. I mean, I don't have the exact math, but it was close to that for it to be. But man, Jacob did get in a bit of a jingle on the first race, and I was sitting with Christine. I said, man, he's coming up to lap cars. This is where it could all go away for Jacob. And sure enough, that two of them got together. He got in, it kept his foot in it, kept it rolling, managed to maintain the lead. He had such a big lead that even though he got in the kerfuffle, he got out of it. Do we get to see that at all, Spencer? I'm not sure if you have that. All right. Okay. So not now, he says, but we can see it on Sunday. We'll be showing the broadcast Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. So make sure you check that out. It'll air at the Brockville Fall Nationals this Sunday at 2 p.m. It'll just be a chronological order of it all mashed together, Adam. So, we'll take Friday stuff and Sundays.
Yeah, no, it'll make for a good show. I want to acknowledge Don Martin because, yeah, Don, I've got a mixed vaccine dose, AstraZeneca, and I believe Pfizer was the second one I got. I've got a trip booked to Mexico for Christmas, so I am confident and optimistic that they will have that sorted out, and my vaccine passport will be as valid as anyone's vaccine passport because I don't plan on staying home. I plan on getting the hell out of here.
Right on. I think it's all we need to do to wrap up the Brockville Fall Nationals. I thought it was pretty cool little spot. Can't wait to go back. I want to thank the Kirklands and Henry Bohr. I got to meet Henry this weekend. Okay, so here you go. This is flagger camera. So there's Jacob, who just went by. He's going right through the middle, 1 and 2, the black car. When he comes around again, the white car and the black car in front of him get together in turn 4. And this is awesome. This is a GoPro on the flagger's hat. And watch, they get together right there coming out of 4, and Jacob Dykstra slams into the tire on the inside. Watch, he keeps it on the gas, through the grass, keeps it going, gets around the 77 Palace and maintain the lead under yellow and goes on to win the feature.
I'll tell you what, he's a good freaking racer. He reminds me of a young Matt Shepard or Chad Brockman or one of these guys that just refuses to lose, right? Just always figuring out a way to keep going.
There were a lot of people tire kicking cars this weekend, Adam. My understanding is when we went up to give Jacob the so we're staying in the rain. We didn't get a proper championship photo or nothing, so we took him down the big check. And Spencer, if you got that picture, show that one too. Took him down the big check. He got around with the team. We got a couple pictures in front of the race car for him. And Dad Dave comes up and says, if you got to tech this car or tear it apart, go ahead, but I already sold it. I said, no, you guys jumped through every hoop we could have thrown at you and every bit of tech we could have done. So congratulations to Dykstra and the team. I said, no, we're done. You're the champ. Take the check. Let's get it on. And they broke out the champagne and had a good deal. So congratulations to Jacob Dykstra on being the Action Sprinter champ with one hell of a dominant season. I think he won 11 times this year and probably would have had 12 had we got the other race in on Sunday. So if you're looking for that race, we'll be rescheduling it to the spring. It may even end up being one of the first races of the Action Sprint Tour for 2022. I think that's it from Brockville. Pretty cool deal. As we know, race car drivers and teams are heroes, Adam. They will jump in anywhere. And if you're in trouble on the road, we've talked about this lots, even with the Jordan Poirier, Tony Spiteri deal. Racers are always looking out for each other and everybody else around them. Casey Kane and James McFadden were on the way to a race, and they stumbled upon a bad car crash. It ended up being two fatalities in the incident. But it says here, among the rescuers were NASCAR sprint car drivers Casey Kane and James McFadden, according to the Duncannon Fire Company. Kane's tour bus fire extinguishers were used to help stop the flames as witnesses unlocked some of the doors to get the folks out. So there's James McFadden and the Duncannon Fire Company. Just awesome to see our family come together like that. Yeah. And these guys not afraid to jump in and, knew what it would take to keep the situation safe, or maybe knew what the dangers were and why they had to be speedy. And, man, if I'm in a wreck, I hope I have a racer around. That's all I got to say. So big kudos to Kane and McFadden on that one.
And it wasn't your run-of-the-mill car accident. I mean, there was a truck going the wrong way on the interstate for many miles and finally
towing a camper
wound up in a head-on collision. Was it really?
Yeah.
Wild.
That's what I read today. Yeah. Pretty crazy. So, and I mean, this isn't the first time we've seen it. We've told stories like this around here from Ontario racers and New York for quite a bit. So, good job, racers out there taking care of our community. Eves and demos, Adam, that's what it's down to, buddy. Eves of Destructions and Demo Derbies. Two big ones coming up this weekend. First off, we'll talk about the Flamborough one on Saturday. And you got a big grin on your face. What do you got there?
We're gonna blow shit up. I doubt I'm gonna be there. Before we get to that, I'm gonna be at an Herbsville Cartway karting reunion. They're about to bulldoze Herbsville Racetrack up near Kitchener. And who was it? Lee Ramage, Michelle Girth, a few of the people that used to race there have put together a reunion. Gary Calling is going to be there, as far as I know. I mean, there's some names, man. The names of people that have raced there. Ryan Hunsinger, I don't know if he's going to be there or not, but he was definitely on the invite list. So a lot of former karters who would have been back as far as the 80s, because by the time the 90s rolled around, the Waterloo Kart Club had moved down to Binghamton's Park. So anyhow, that's what I'm going to be up to Saturday.
All right, let's throw it back up for everybody else who isn't going to that. They'll be going to the Eve. Sorry, not the Eve. The Eve comes on Sunday. Enduro 250, the Halloween Enduro at Flamborough. If they get 125 cars, it'll pay $10,000 to the winner. Pits open at 9 a.m., racing at 4 p.m. That's this Saturday, October 23rd, with the rain date being on Sunday with the same times, plus a big demo derby, 1,000 to win. Check out all the info there at Flamborough if you want to go down and check that out. If you're into that type of thing, it's going to be pretty cool. Before we get to the next one, Steve Shaw also shared on our chat that Saturday, October 23rd, it'll be the final afternoon of racing featuring legends, motorcycles, and features for all the regular classes. Family fun afternoon. Fan admission, $10. Seniors and students, $5. That's at Southern Ontario Motor Speedway this weekend. So if you want to get down there, one final kick at the can. If you're in the West, good luck to everybody down there. Sunday, we have the Eve of Destruction. It's been rescheduled from last week. Attar Metals presents the Eve of Destruction 2 p.m. Sunday at Humberstone Speedway, featuring the Bone Shaker Jet Truck Burn Down. So they're going to wreck some stuff and burn some stuff. If you want to check that out, go to humberstonespeedway.ca for all the information. And they're hoping for a good crowd there. The Eve of Destruction has always been a good deal. And check it out.
Fan favorite.
It is. I'm gonna have to go check it out too. I think just for fun. Women barred from Speedway. This was an article that got shared. We have some old timers on Facebook that are in our groups, and this got shared. This was a wild article when you think about it. Women barred from the pits at Ontario Speedway. This is Peterborough. This is Westgate Speedway. What a story this is, Adam, about how this is the most racist and wild story you're ever gonna see. I got to see if I can find it here quickly in our chat so I can read. Okay, I have it here. So just let me read you some of this. So Brian Aiken is against women drivers, at least on his track. The manager of Westgate Speedway says, "We don't have ladies races." He doesn't ban them outright, but under recent regulation, women are barred from the pit area until after the final race each night. And since drivers must check their machines at the pits before the races, that means the women drivers are out. He says, "I'm not discriminating against women, but they have more vital organs. They're not as tough as men, and they get shaken up more. I don't want women getting hurt at my track. In certain situations in a race, girls just don't think and react as quickly as men." Now, do you want to touch on those first two horrible statements he stated, Adam, or do you want me to continue on?
No, I don't. You continue on, please.
They get hurt and they damage the cars. He was brought up to believe a woman's place is in the home. Boy, this guy's just...
And I'm not smiling at the notion. Like, I'm not smiling at the ridiculous... Well, I am smiling at the ridiculous comments. I'm thinking how far we have come to what you can and can't say, what you should and should not say, what you should and should not think. It's wild to think this isn't that long ago.
No, and this article wasn't even nobody blinked an eye at it. Probably it was just that was the mentality at the time, right? But hold on, it goes on. So go ahead, give me your opinion, then I'll find something else here.
My eye went to the bottom left corner of the page. I want to see what's on page 6, because all it says in the corner is men. See page 6.
See page
Put
5.
it back
Yeah,
up.
you're right.
Page 5, sorry.
Yeah.
What's on this page 5 that's like...
So Brian Aiken goes on to say, things are changing now when women are driving their own cars and driving them well, but I still can't see women in a stock car race. He knows several girls that want to race, but even if 100 girls come to the track with $100 and 100 cars, I won't let them race. I know from the first day I came to Westgate that I wouldn't have women racing. And Ruth Trotter, she's one of the women who is in the Powder Puffs. She says, she went on to train the girls on how to be better Powder Puff racers, and she says, I thought training the girls would change Brian's mind, but it didn't. Poor Ruth and the rest of the girls. Thank goodness we've had some great racers up in Peterborough. Someone like Amanda Balson comes to mind, who's a great ambassador for the ladies. We've got girls on the pavement, or on the dirt too, running very well. So it's crazy. And that's probably 40 years ago.
My mom raced in a Powder Puff race in the late 50s on dirt down in Weedsport. She won the race, but stories I remember are that 3 women left the track that night in ambulances who participated in that race. They weren't for the faint of heart. So I'm not saying that it was because they were women. I'm just saying that it's crazy how times have changed. What's acceptable is not.
Even the idea of a powder puff.
Right. It leads so well into our next topic, Clint, because we are in a sport, in my opinion, which is one of the most accepting sports, accepting ventures, hobbies, passions, pastimes. There are people of any race, any sex, any sexual orientation. The funny thing is, I know of transgendered people in motorsports. I know, I can think of all sorts of people who are just welcomed in as racers. And it strikes me as, it makes me happy that I don't know more because I don't care. There may be tons of transgender people. I only know of 1 or 2. Same with people who are different in many, many other ways. Some of them I know who they are, but for the most part I don't. Because if you're at the races, you are part of the family. Like it or not, you're part of our dysfunctional group, and you're going to be welcomed in. Which leads us in, except for Decker, we don't welcome 4-legged people. Stay home, Decker.
Yes, we have lots of dogs there. But wait, your mom raced Powder Puffs?
She only raced once in Gordy Wood's car, and actually he came back and raced in the 2000s. I think he ran a vintage car in central New York State.
See, that's what happened to you. Your mom's vital organs got jumbled up, like Brian Aiken says, and that's why you're the way you are.
It's quite possible.
I had to throw it out there.
Mom might not be here still, Clinton, but I still wouldn't cross her. She'd come back. She'd come back.
I have mad respect for both your parents, and I would not
I know.
lip off to her. That's why, rest her soul, I will throw the joke now. I probably would have thrown it and then ran a couple feet and said, I'm sorry, Dory, I was just kidding.
Someone said we had that issue at work last week when someone made a your mama joke, and someone else says, well, you can't do that. His mother is gone. They weren't talking about me. They were talking about someone else. And I said, no. Your mother jokes are always in fashion. It doesn't matter if she's still here or not. Your mama jokes are your mama joke, and you should embrace them.
Agreed.
That's my soapbox.
You led into this a little bit, Adam. Let's tell the story, what we're talking about here. And it was Daniel Eugene, who's a photographer down at Thompson and on the East Coast, modified scene and such, I believe. There was some incident there 2 weeks ago, and we missed it last week. So we had a busy show, got away from it, but it was there. Show the picture you showed earlier, Spencer. It was the gentleman with the microphone that you thought was was singing the anthems there, and he got accosted at him after the races one night. It's just a horrible situation. Nobody would expect anything like that to happen. I'll read it quickly. Last night at Thompson, I was attacked from behind while walking up to my camper to grab drinks to bring back to a friend's victory lane celebration. It was just after 11 p.m. I was blindsided. He punched me in the back of the head, knocked me down, continued hitting me while calling me a piece of shit faggot. He ran off before I was able to get up. I never got a look at him. I'm sore and cut up, but otherwise physically okay. I keep saying to myself, how did this happen? And I'm glad it wasn't worse, that he only punched me. He said, I feel totally messed up over this. I have no idea where he came from. I have no idea who he was. Obviously, the guy had been watching him. And he said this. He said, which isn't hard to do, considering I'm a goddamn unicorn at the races. Sorry, not sorry. It's taken me my whole life adult to show up the races as my full self, unapologetically. And I know I stand out. I know I have a big presence. It's who I am. But I have an effusive with passion, not just for grassroots stalker racing, but more so the community of people who show up, like you mentioned, Adam, and who are unlike any other people in the world. When I take pictures at the track, it's because I want to tell the story and celebrate the people behind the wheel, who are behind the scenes, and most of all, the fans who are in the stands. I'm working my ass off trying to figure out how I can make a living out of loving racing, and I know that challenge some people's sense of I challenge some people's sense of normal by just being who I am. Wow, such positive statements. It goes on and on. You can find Daniel on Facebook and find the whole story, but great to see everybody jump in. There were a few other racers, and it's not my point to call them out, but if you can find it, they basically came out, and I was like, wow, I didn't know he was out of the closet, but because like you said, Adam, we don't care. It's not a part of why we judge or what we do. The biggest thing that I'm proud of about our sport is there is no segregational lines from everything, whether it be age, ability, wealth, education. I mean, it goes on right about. We take the 14-year-olds and put them in against, like, you look at the Craig Sprint, for example. Larry Gledhill, 62-year-old rookie, never driven anything, against a 14-year-old kid who raced his whole life. They're battling out there. Then you've got someone, who's in business for himself, like a Dan Nanicoke, who's fairly well off, or a Glenn Stiers, racing against someone who I'm not going to call by name, but can barely put craft dinner on their table. They're out there playing together, and we just put them all in the bowl, stir it up, and somehow we all played together nicely. And that's one thing we're super proud of our sport. So if that's our positive note, if you're open, we're proud of it, and keep rocking down that line. We've got people in our midst and that we employ at Oshweekon who are openly, I don't even want to put the label
Isn't
on
it awkward? Isn't it awkward that you can't say gay or homosexual or I hesitated as well.
I didn't hesitate there because of that, though. I didn't want to put that label on this person because I don't know what they identify as personally. And if someone knows who we're talking about, and we also had someone on our G-Force crew this year who was a they, them. And that, let's face it, that was a big adaptation for us old timers who were not brought up on that mentality to make sure we were being respectful. And it did take a bit of effort.
We had fantastic conversations at the races in some of the few downtimes there were before the shows, just to chat about that and say, how do you come to that point, and how do we address this? How can we be appropriate in not saying the wrong thing? I believe very strongly in intent. Okay, so maybe I've called someone a her who was supposed to be a they. Never my intent to offend. I always want to learn. Like I want to know. If you mindfully call someone a him who identifies as a they, that's intentional. Like you know better and you still do it. That's so I want to learn these things. I find those conversations fascinating. But to go back to the main point, in racing, it doesn't matter. I've known officials, very prominent people who I don't recall ever being bullied, who were openly gay. They were just part of the tapestry, part of the family. And they never had a problem. I don't know what it was like away from the racetracks for them. Never had that conversation. But I know in any gatherings I saw, I don't have time to hate somebody for silly things. If I dislike you, we together have earned that. If I have a dislike for someone, either they've earned it or I've done something that involved them that helped me gain that opinion of them. It's certainly not going to be because of their sexuality or because of their race, or it's going to be because I don't like them. There's something about them that troubles me, or something they've chosen to do that troubles me, but certainly not
Yeah.
something silly.
Phil Nels brings up a good point. Hashtag motorsport inclusion. He says, by the way, Canadian motorsport is an international leader in inclusion, which we should all be proud of. I mean, like I said, Adam, I'm proud of our crew and being respectful and trying to take the time to learn, okay, this person wants to be communicated this way, which is different than our old school style. So we find ourselves, like you said, sitting around having those discussions. Okay, how are we going to address this property? And I think we all got a bit of an education on, some new age mentality. And I think it was great.
Well,
I mean, I come back to Kenzie a lot. My daughter, she's got a lot of friends that are they, them, if we can put it that way. And I come back and I'm like, okay, so if I dead gendered somebody, meaning I called them by the gender that they want to be they, them now, what's the proper response? And, it's like you said, is it intent? I didn't intentionally say it, and I think they got it. So just make sure you don't do it right time. Fran brings up a good thing. And you said it too. Using the name is always the best. But,
yeah, and I really enjoyed having those conversations, Clinton, with your kids around, because that generation, uh, they don't see the world the way we saw the world. Certainly not the way our parents saw the world. It is a more inclusive and a more understanding. And I think I am inclusive and I am understanding. But sometimes I have to realize I am in my mid 40s. I don't like, there are things that have happened that are just comfortable to kids. And there's a lot we can learn from them.
I have definitely learned a lot about being respectful down those lines for the last couple of seasons, and it's an education I'm thankful I got through racing, and I'm going to use it
Don't
well in all walks of life.
And don't get me wrong, there's jerks in racing. There's real dickheads in racing. They're still part of the family. You're right. You can't all be sunshine and rainbows and unicorns, but you earn that over a period of time.
Agreed. I think we had another great show. Thank you everybody for spending some time with us. We hit on some good issues. We hit on some whiny issues from us, and once again, I want to appreciate everybody. I got to send a big shout out to Pinty's, Adam, before we close out the show. They did a fabulous job with the Action Sprint Tour and the Knights of Thunder and covering all the dirt races, being the presenting sponsor of all the dirt action everybody saw out live this summer. On the other side of that, obviously send a shout out to APC and all their staff and everybody from the United Racing Series. Again, another fabulous season. Super great to work with them. And again, Pinty's and guys like Quick Wick and that were behind it, Weather Tech too. So appreciate everybody who made that happen for us.
Before we leave, I want to tell a bit of a bullying story. Do you mind?
No.
So when I was young in school, there was a few racers that went to the same school that I did. And racing wasn't cool. Like, it wasn't something that you show up and you brag about. It was a lifestyle we did on the side. There was one person who was a racer. I don't want to say they were a bully, but they were kind of in a different crowd, and they were not quick to judge, but they were vocal to judge certain people for certain things. And I remember someone came along and started making fun of me racing go-karts. And this racer was with that person. And I'll never forget, they were best friends, but he turned to his buddy as they were kind of picking on me. And I can't imagine this is easy for a 13-year-old. He says, no. He said that it's all good. He does all right. That's cool. I forget how the words came down, but he basically shut it down and say, you're not going to make fun of someone because they're a racer. But we weren't really friends. We grew into friends much down the line, but it was interesting to see that dynamic to where the racing family eventually stepped in and trumped our social circles in school.
It happens, man. You just gotta. That's the thing I talk to my kids about. Sometimes a bully only understands a bigger bully. So just stand up and punch him in the mouth, and you'll be all right.
Well, like I said, you don't always win, but sometimes you got to do it. And Gary, Jason, I'll tell you about a mental image. You want a little bit of space at the beach? Send me in there 5 minutes before in my mankini. the seas part, you can have whatever spot you want.
Richard Hadler says, keep the buttons done up. We need G4 shirts for the booth that say, keep the buttons done up. Hey, thanks everybody for hanging out with us this hour. Spencer, thanks for all your work as well. Yes, we will have cameras at the Eve of Destruction on Sunday to catch that. It will be coming out live, Fran, for you down the line. Of course, Sunday at 2 o'clock, we will kick off. For those of you who aren't at the Eve of Destruction, it'll be live on demand. It'll be Brockville weekend. All the action we caught Friday and Sunday from the previous weekend. Make sure you check it out. And Turn 5 shirts. I actually saw that on there's something called Turn 5. We sent that over, but thank you, everybody, for hanging out. We appreciate you guys being with us. Thanks, Spencer. Thanks, Adam. And Tuesday it is.
And Gary, thanks for the comments. We love you as well. Have a great week, folks.